What kind of world is it where preseason football is sloppy and dysfunctional? Ridiculous, right? No, I already know. But if you talk to anybody on Giants Twitter, you're probably just going to see.
Now I'm pissed. Royally pissed.
Now, am I happy with Daniel Jones' performance during this preseason game? Absolutely not. Okay, I think that the first pass that he threw, trying to force it to Malik Neighbors, that's unexcusable. Okay, that was almost picked off by Derek Stingley and could have been another pick six. And then talking about the actual pick six, the back foot throw in the end zone, trying to, throwing off of his back foot, trying to force a throw to Theo Johnson, our new tight end. You can't do that, right? That's obviously unacceptable. You either need to take the safety and just eat the two, or you need to have enough arm strength to throw it over the receiver, into the boundary and just live to fight another down, right? None of that was done. Okay, you underthrew the ball. You threw it basically right into the lap of Petrie. Easy pick six, unacceptable. You cannot do that in the regular season. Otherwise, there's no way we're going to win any games this year. I understand the frustration with Daniel Jones. Okay, he's a flash in the pan sometimes. Sometimes he looks unstoppable. Like, look at the playoff win versus the Vikings. Look at the game versus. Look at his rookie season. He had 25 touchdowns and 9 games, something like that. Like, it's clear that the kid, he had talent when he came in, and I think that the Giants definitely didn't do him any favors his entire career. Didn't even get him a number one receiver until this year, after he already tore his ACL, after he already learned how to not trust in his offensive line or not trust in his weapons and feel like he has to play hero ball. So do I think this is the true Daniel Jones? No, I don't think this is the true Daniel Jones. And I don't think that you really need to necessarily be on a side with Daniel Jones either. Okay? It's not one versus the other. Okay? Someone can have good days and someone can have bad days, right? And the fact that, like, if you say anything positive about Daniel Jones, then you're you're just a Daniel Jones lover. Or if you hate him, or if you say anything negative that he does, then you're a Daniel Jones hater, right? I mean, there's no winning on this topic, but I'm trying to come at it from a nuanced perspective. Okay. That kid was fucked ever since we got him here. We did him absolutely no favors. But I think this is the year where, and I think this is where a lot of the frustration comes from, is that now he actually has a number one receiver. He has a number two receiver. He's got speed on the outside. He's got a good running back room. He's got a very good offensive line. If what's to be seen in the preseason is what we're going to be expecting, for this year to come, then absolutely there's going to be no excuses for Daniel Jones, because he now has the tools that he needs to succeed. But I think that he doesn't even believe that himself yet, right? Imagine if you were in his position, you were getting sacked. I don't know. He got injured week 8 last year. I mean, how many sacks did he get? Or how many times did he get sacked during that time frame? Okay, how many receivers launched balls into the air after he laid a dime on them and got intercepted, or just dropped him entirely? Like this, we haven't earned his trust yet, is how I see this. Now, his play on the field, right? Totally understand. It didn't look good, especially versus the first half, especially versus the Texans starters. But this is where I'm coming from with this. If you actually watch the preseason game, if you watch the All-22, it's not like Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, the offensive line. Offensive line was actually fairly good. But our receiving help, although it is more talented than previous iterations of this Giants team, I mean, they're still young, right? I mean, Malik Neighbors, for as talented as he is, he's still a rookie. And he did make rookie mistakes during that preseason game. If you go back and watch, there are times where, he should have sat in the zone, or he should have, if he was in man coverage, he should have played clear out. But he kind of would just trail off and just kind of jog off. And maybe that's miscommunication. Maybe that's him just learning the playbook or just getting a feel for the NFL. Maybe it is just the thought that it is preseason. I don't have to go as hard. But there were times where I saw Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson, Jalen Hyatt do things that did not help the case for them to be trustworthy receivers for Daniel Jones. And I'm not saying that they're not going to be. I really do think that they are, and I think it's going to start week 1. But this is still preseason. This is still the learning period, okay? This stuff takes time. I've already preached before in the past where the if you want to get a good offensive line, the best offensive line is the offensive line that's played the longest with one another. And now we actually have a line where they were able to settle in at positions during training camp, and now they're settling in at positions during the preseason, and I think they're going to be even better going forward. Daniel Jones, he needs to trust him, right? I mean, you need to put that faith in your team. You can't play scared, obviously, but I don't think that Daniel Jones is the only one to blame for the offensive woes in this last game. And I think some of the blame should be looked at some other parties involved, because I think that Daniel Jones is being unfairly blamed for a lot of it. And just like it's preseason for the players, it's also preseason for the coaching staff. If you and this is something that you might be able to explain away because it's preseason, they're showing a very vanilla offense, right? They're not showing the good stuff. Well, I mean, some of those route concepts were just horrible. You have times where you have 2 wide receivers and a tight end going within like 10 yards of each other, and they're not, but there's nobody on the other side of the field that's taking advantage of all that attention being diverted somewhere else. And so a lot of the times it's kind of forcing Daniel Jones to throw into tight coverages or to throw into double or triple coverages. And I don't think that the play calling either was really doing Daniel Jones a whole lot of favors either. So I'm hoping that was just a product of it being preseason, and that they wanted their offense to look a certain way in order to not convey their true plans. But at some point you almost have to ask yourself, is that wishful thinking? Is that coping? So I mean, take that with a grain of salt, but I mean, that's definitely an option you could look at for why the offense didn't do Daniel Jones any favors. And so it's not that when Daniel Jones throws an interception or throws a bad ball, it's not that these guys or it's not that these guys are open and he's just not reading the field and he's just making terrible decisions. He's actually making the only decisions that really are viable at the time, and he does need to work on his foot placement. He does need to learn how to flip his hips and actually get into his back step, or get his hips in the facing the side of the field of where he's intending to throw, because that's wasting a lot of time, him adjusting before the throw. So he needs to work on his timing, needs to work on his chemistry, and this play calling, quite frankly, if it's anywhere like this going into the regular season, then Daniel Jones, no matter how many weapons or how good the offensive line is, Daniel Jones isn't talented enough to be able to make some of those throws that might be required in an offense like this. So that's something to also just keep in mind. Again, it's not all on Daniel Jones, and he did actually make some good decisions. He did have some big time throws, especially that one to Darius Slayton. And yeah, it's as disheartening it is to see what we saw against the Texans. This is still early in the process. I'm hoping that he plays next week, because I want him to get as many live reps as he can get. And he's got to learn how to trust the system that was put around him, and the players need to build continuity. And I think it's really going to start clicking. And we're not the only offense that looks sloppy right now either. If you go look around the league, there's a lot of bad offenses right now. It takes time for things to develop. I mean, even if you're a veteran, sometimes it takes a while for you to get acclimated to the speed of the NFL after being out from it for so long. Now, one part of the field that I was concerned about is definitely our cornerback number 2 slot, especially with Cordell Flott out. And as much as I like Trey Hawkins, just because you like a player doesn't mean you should play him. And if he's not good enough to be CB2, we need to start looking at our options, seeing players that we might anticipate being cut. And we're 6th in the waiver wire this year, so as long as any of the 5 teams in front of us don't grab any of the corners, or even if there's more corners than anticipated, let go. Hopefully that's going to be our solution for a cornerback 2, because right now I don't think our cornerback 2 is on the roster. And with the amount of injuries that have piled up, we might need to even bring in more than one just as depth. And so this team's definitely got a ways to go. As much as I like our defensive line, even our linebacking core, even though we had some injuries, I don't believe any of them are necessarily serious enough to keep him out from week 1. But that's just me speculating. I don't know that. I think this is going to be a strong defense, especially if our initial pass rush is able to make it home. And as long as these young cornerbacks on our team, I mean, even Deonte Banks, like he's only in his 2nd year, and cornerback in general is probably the hardest position to transition to from college to the NFL. So we got a young secondary. We have a huge question mark on the CB2 situation, and like I said, I don't think that cornerback's on our roster yet. But we got to get these guys time to develop, and I think having a decent pass rush and really putting pressure on these quarterbacks, it's going to force some errant throws. Maybe some passes get tipped, or they're just not on time or as quite on target as the quarterback or receiver would like them to be. And that's where we're going to have to survive, is just within that threshold. Because if our pass rush can't get pressure within the first 2 seconds of a snap, then we're especially that cornerback 2 position is just going to get eaten alive. And really in the secondary, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And our link is pretty weak at that side, so it could really be a house of cards and just make the whole thing fall down. But I do have faith in the offense, given enough time and repetition, that they're actually going to be more successful than I think a lot of Giants fans realize at the moment. Another area of need is probably going to be our linebacking core too, because we've already had 2 injuries at the linebacker 2 position, specifically in Deontay Johnson and Micah McFadden, which were both slated in as basically LB2s, kind of maybe depending on a down and distance scenarios. And that might be something that we might have to look at as well. I know corner is definitely number 1, but linebackers is definitely going to be a need too. Oh, and one thing about the defense, and this was by far my favorite play of the whole game, was watching Elijah Chapman chase down the running back. And I apologize, I can't remember the running back's name. But to watch a 300-pound defensive lineman be able to flip his hips, get in stride, take those angles, and chase down a running back, it was you gotta love those big man moments in the NFL. And you don't get them very often, but that one in particular, just because I am a Giants fan, it is a cool story to see an undrafted free agent make such an impact like that. Just an awesome play, and Chapman is definitely making the roster. I think he would be excellent on. I mean, he could. I wouldn't even mind just having him line up next to Dex on a down and down basis. But I think where he's really going to thrive is on 3rd and longs, when on obvious passing down situations, because he's definitely a good pass rusher. I think in his first, I don't have his stats for this game, but I know in the first game, I think it was 4 pressures and a sack within, I don't know if it was a drive or 2 that he played that first game. But he's a guy, he's coming in, he's making a name for himself, he's making an impact, and that's definitely a positive to see as well. I think I'm going to leave it here. I think I talked about basically everything that I wanted to talk about, and I might have another video this week and just kind of, see what I missed, might go over some more things. But I really appreciate you guys stopping in, taking time to check out the channel. And if you wouldn't mind, go down below, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know how I can make my content better, or if you disagree with me, you can let me know about that too, because I'd love to hear contradictory opinions. So until next time, guys, you take it easy. Bye-bye.